Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Crafty Folks podcast. Here I have the wonderful Winter with me. We have our pronouns. We're talking about isms today, so it felt very appropriate to have our pronouns. Anyone who doesn't respect our pronouns in the comment, like them, use them, or get out. That's the policy for today. So, Winter, you want to introduce yourself? I'm sure everyone knows you already.
Hi everyone, I'm Winter. I'm an autistic human. I have ADHD, and I have CPTSD as well. Those are the main things I struggle with. And I'm a disabled content creator. I have carpal tunnel, hence the little gloves. I'm a crocheter. That's mainly what I do. And I have a YouTube channel, Winter Nightmare, in which I talk a lot about autism and things like that. I talk a lot about my experience as a human being, my experience with others. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. I go live quite frequently. I talk about that stuff, and sometimes we chill. We have a nice time. So yeah, if you want to check that out, feel free.
Yes, please do check Winter out. They are awesome. I am Ian. Y'all know me. But in the vein of talking about diagnoses that we have, and this is kind of why we're talking about it today, is because a lot of people don't understand, or maybe do understand, but take advantage of certain diagnoses that we have, right? And they kind of use comments in like inappropriate manners, and maybe they don't realize it. Maybe there's no malicious intent, or maybe there is. And we're going to talk about that because both Winter and I are ready to leave this planet.
Oh goodness, yes, the spaceship is being built as we speak.
Yes. It's being built by the finest homosexuals in the land, so it's up to par, and it's fabulous as well. So okay, diagnoses. See, I told you I'd be all over the place. So I have multiple mental health diagnoses. Basically half the DSM here that we use in the States for psychological diagnoses. I have bipolar disorder, specifically bipolar 1, which is kind of known for its marked manic episodes. I have borderline personality disorder. I have PTSD, CPTSD, PTSD, whatever. I have ADHD. I have anxiety. Currently going through a depressive episode right now. Even if you see me smiling, it doesn't mean that I'm not depressed. And that's a good feature to just note for anyone who talks about dealing with depression. Just because they are smiling doesn't mean that they're not feeling, or just like any mental illness, right? Like you can like have like a good momentary time, but still feel overall depression or any feeling. And those are the main ones. Probably, I have agoraphobia, which is really getting in my way a lot. I am also disabled. I guess technically I'm a content creator, although it just feels weird calling myself that. I don't know why.
You
I
are.
primarily crochet, but I love just getting my hands in all kinds of crafts. Usually I'm not good at them. Occasionally I find something I'm halfway decent at.
You're very good. Stop that.
And I have friends like Winter who feed into my delusions. So, or who don't let me feed into my delusions is probably a better way to put it. But yeah, so this was spurred on by a conversation that Winter and I had in private, and we don't need to get into those details. But we just kind of started talking, and Winter, feel free to jump in whenever, because I will just bulldoze any conversation I'm in often.
That's okay. I'm not the most talkative person on earth, so.
Well, apparently I am when there's a camera on. The minute that I turn the camera off, I like speak 3 words, and my wife fills in
I feel that.
the rest. um, but yeah, so we were just talking about just kind of things that we deal with as content creators, as people on social
Yeah,
media, and or just people in general, right? Because like these things can happen
yeah.
in your real life, on any form of social media, anything like that. And I don't think some people realize how like fucking annoying it is or
It's
damaging,
big.
right?
Yeah, it's big and it's exhausting. And we were kind of talking about really the demands that are put on us as creators from other people, and
Mhm.
how that can basically it can hinder is the right pronunciation, our mental
I
health.
think so.
It affects us. It can basically send us. Me, I know I'm autistic. I can get meltdowns quite easily when people start to like put tons and tons of demands in the comments, and that happens repeatedly. Like I have streams of big comments like this
Hmm.
of just people telling me, what if you do this, what if you do that, and like instantly I will go into meltdown, and like I need to close the screen, leave, or whatever, and that's never a good time for anyone. But like people don't understand that. And I still have the Nightbot disclaimers, by the way. People don't care about those, it
Hmm.
seems.
Yeah, or I think that sometimes people just like this is gonna be me like playing devil's advocate a lot because like I truly don't think a lot of people come at us with like ill intent, but when you are overstimulated with
Yeah,
what's going on in your brain, or you're in a more sensitive part of your life, or you're a sensitive person, like I know I am, like
me
those
too.
things can actually be like really hard to hear. And I just want to put a disclaimer: if you hear something that we talk about today, that maybe it is something that you as a viewer has said, it doesn't mean that you are a bad person. Like, we're not trying to like be mean to you. We're just saying, hey, this affected us, and we
Yeah.
want people to kind of understand that it did
Yeah,
impact us.
we kind of just want to bring awareness because we know that you don't always realize it because you don't experience those things, right?
Mhm.
But I do a lot of this on my channel. Like I will talk openly about things people have said, or even on my YouTube, and I'll be like, "Hey, something in the comments happened. I'm not too down with that. Can we please like calm down, because like for me I know I'm gonna have meltdowns, it's gonna affect me, so if we can like just cut this part and just like you know." And I think it's important that we talk about it right now. So really we're not trying to be mean to anyone, we're just advocating for ourselves, and maybe the hopes of creating an easier community to be in is a little bit what we're trying to achieve here.
So I definitely agree, and I think you said it perfectly. But as I was pulling this up, I'm untangling this yarn that I've been
Oh
untangling for
goodness.
like 2 years now. Not literally that long, but this is so like if you're neurotypical, meaning, well, there's kind of two definitions, right? There's one where you don't have any mental illnesses. That's
Yeah,
neurotypical by definition. But a more current feeling about neurodivergence is like it it really focuses, like when we talk about neurodivergence, we typically are talking about people with ADHD or are on the autism spectrum or both,
yeah.
right? So if you're ever wondering what it feels like in our brains, I feel like this is a great, at least for
Yeah,
me.
I
I
have
don't know.
I have one too. I'm making a shawl right now. I was doing that live actually when I talked to you like a little bit before I talked to you. I was That's what I was doing, and I'm just like dealing with a hot mess here. That's what my brain is like too. So a good representation. That's why I was laughing earlier when you showed it. I was like, yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Because like this is your brain on neurodivergence. It's
Oh yeah.
you like things that like people may say that might be totally like innocuous and like fine for other people can get like just like jammed around and like spun in our head. So that's why
Yeah.
like a lot of this is just for like information purposes and just like sharing our own experiences. We can't speak for every person with autism or ADHD or any of the other million diagnoses that we share. So, but like all we can do is say, like, this happened to us, this is how it affected us, and that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about today.
Yeah.
So, if this doesn't seem like your type of video, you know, there's other videos out there on the internet. So I, but if you are interested and maybe just want to know a little bit more about the experience of people who are neurodivergent, mentally ill, disabled, trans, queer, anything like that, we are our one, or we're two data points in a
Yeah.
giant field of data.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
sometimes we kind of just want to provide a small window into our lives, but maybe it will inspire you to look more into those things and to seek out more creators that are like us. And I would encourage you to do that. There is not only me as an autistic person and Ian as your things, like there's a wide variety of us and we all have different perspectives, and even within the community we won't necessarily always agree. And I think it's important when you do advocacy kind of thing that to really just realize that there are so many perspectives. So yeah, check other people out.
hmm
Please do. I know I do that.
yeah, definitely. So shall we dive into the isms?
Oh yes, yes we should.
I feel like you will probably define it better than I will. So when we talk about isms, what can you kind of tell us what we're talking about?
For the purpose of this podcast right now, I think we're focusing about ableism, right? But isms are basically things that people say or do towards a minority. So, for instance, us as disabled people, and there are things that will either harm us or like make us feel little, like they will belittle us. I'm sorry, by the way, I'm French, so I struggle with pronunciation and I have a lot of speech issues. So just be patient with me, people. Sometimes I struggle, but yeah, an ism is basically something you say or do. It can be as small as just a casual phrase, as for example, hey, you're so lazy. Just that's ableist. But yeah, that's one ism that we hear a lot, especially since we're both ADHDers. Like, we're not lazy, we're just stuck, and
Yeah,
our brain is stuck in this mode. But you don't understand that as the person saying it to you, it's laziness. So that's kind of what it is.
yeah.
Maybe you have a more defined definition of me. I'm a bit chaotic.
Oh, you don't have to excuse chaos here. We welcome it.
Okay,
Where weird is welcome and where chaos reigns.
that's awesome.
That's what we're doing here. I also think that included in this is kind of like the conversation around different phobias. And
Oh
I
yeah,
use
that
the
too.
air quotes because I'm not talking about fears. I'm talking about
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
like uh, like either blatant aggression or microaggressions
That too.
against people
Yeah,
of
that.
like a certain group,
Yeah.
right? Because like, whoa, do we get it? Like, we see our pronouns here, and like people who don't use the right pronouns, like they
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily always realize, like a cis person. And by the way, cis is not a slur. It is
No, it's not.
grammatically and scientifically a prefix used to mean the same.
Yeah,
Trans means different.
yeah.
Um, so, like, just heads
They're
up, this is not a
descriptive
slur.
words.
But just talking about like the transphobia that we experience and stuff like that, I think all of that is included
Oh,
in
it is.
like,
It
you
definitely
know,
is.
putting that out there because that oh my gosh, it's so
It is so hard when you're a content creator to deal with those things constantly, because if you're just in person, sometimes you can escape a social situation, but unless you remove your video or something, you keep getting those comments and you're kind of always exposed. But
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword because you're trying to help your people and advocate for yourself, but also it takes such a toll on your mental health, like every day. I get demands all the time, and it's one of the reasons I'm a smaller content creator and I don't push my stuff as much as I should, is because I used to stream for like 10 people at a time, up to 20 sometimes, when people would share my streams and all. And people just, you just see like, do this, do that, monkey, do the thing. That's what we were saying earlier. We were
I was
saying,
I was
do
gonna
this.
say if you didn't, because I was like, that's the best thing I think I've heard all week.
Yeah,
Monkey do the thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
But we're just human beings trying to figure it out. And we happen to have struggles that you don't. So,
yeah. Or
yeah,
maybe you do and you experience them differently. Maybe
yeah,
something that bothers
yeah,
us doesn't bother you, or vice versa. All of that can exist at the same time. So, like we said earlier, we're not the end all be all of opinions. These are our opinions, but get to know other people as people rather than just clustering them like all autistic people
yeah,
like to be talked to like this, or whatever. It's like just treat people like individuals rather than like trying to like group everybody all the time. Um so um what are some of your favorite isms that you've received?
Oh boy. Well, a big one that I've had since I was growing up, and I sure you'll be able to relate to this one, and I'm sure anyone who's remotely neurodivergent will be able to, not that you can quantify neurodivergence, but yeah, you know what I mean. But is one your teachers always say, like, doesn't apply themselves, like on your report card. I got that every single report card, even if I was in the 90%. Like, yeah, I always got doesn't apply themselves. Well, always. And teachers at like parents meetings and whatnot will always tell them, your kid could be so much better if they just applied themselves, if they just put in the work. Instead of trying to help you, they're just trying to tell you that you're not doing enough, and that will follow you a lot in your life, actually, even when you have a job and things like that. People are just like, well, just do the thing, just do it.
Hmm.
Well, that's more complicated than us. We can't always just do the thing.
Yeah. I think what you said about like it following us into work is definitely true for
Oh
me.
yeah.
Like before I became fully disabled, um, I just had like I would push myself so hard, I would experience burnout, and then I would try to like come back and do as much as I could, but it
Yeah.
was never enough. And people would be like, well, you did it last week, so you're capable of it.
Oh
You need
goodness,
to
yeah.
like apply yourself more this week. And I'm like, I am stretched thin and I am hanging on by a thread. So
I'm
like,
spread thin like Bilbo on his toast. Like that's the analogy I like to use.
mhm. um, yeah, oh my gosh, that's one that so many people encounter um, in their earlier years, and those are so foundational for everyone, right?
Oh
Not just
yeah,
for us neurodivergents or queer folks or any group of people. It's
yeah,
like, well, if you don't look at the full picture, yes, teacher, you could say I'm not applying myself, or yes, parent, you could say I'm not applying myself. But if you do look at the full picture and you could look into, if you could just take out my brain and look at it,
yeah.
you would be like, this person is
Like,
doing the best that they can.
yeah, like why is this person struggling? What's behind that? Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they're burnt out. Like, I've had a big period of burnout in my life that ruined my university and everything. And people were just like, well, just go outside, just meet people, just socialize, and you'll be all right. And that's another ism we face all the freaking time. I mean,
Yeah. I
and
feel like I'm gonna do like the Home Alone, like
yeah,
I
it's
feel like I'm
cool.
gonna do that over and over again because you say it and instantly I just feel it like in
I've
my chest and my
studied
heart and my
I've
gut.
studied isms and neurodivergence so much because I do a lot of advocacy advocacy. Goodness, that word. Anyway, I do that a lot online. I try to make posts and things, and I try to explain to people why it hurts us to hear those things. But the thing about hearing that constantly just um it makes you feel worthless. It makes you feel like you cannot accomplish things people can. That's all I can think to say about this.
Yeah, and it actually, I know for me and a lot of other people, it decreases how much you're willing to do because you're like, well, if
Yeah,
I try as hard as I can and it's not good enough, well, why am I going to try as hard as I can?
yeah, why would I do
Yeah,
it?
so you do even
Like,
worse.
all this work, and what did it get me? The song. I'm not gonna sing it. I don't want us to get copyrighted, but
Yeah, exactly.
that.
And yeah, I feel like for me, one of the biggest things growing up was like you're so sensitive. And people would
Mm-hmm.
love to point out how sensitive I was. And they're
Always.
not wrong, right? Like that's the thing. Like you can say
Yeah.
something and it's not technically wrong, but it doesn't mean that it's helpful and that it can't be
Yeah.
hurtful. And like I am a sensitive person,
Yeah.
yes, but like there were so many other things happening in my life that made me a sensitive person now and as a child, and people instead of trying to understand what the hypersensitivity came from, they just wanted to like put me down for
Yeah.
being emotional. And it's like, well, like, now I have like a laundry list of diagnoses that explain exactly why I was so
Yeah.
emotional as a kid. And like as neurodivergence, emotions are really extra, just like this.
Yeah. The yarn ball.
Yes.
I feel like sometimes like people try to put us down for sorry, the neighbors are like doing a thunderstorm right now. That's distracting me, but I feel like people try to put us down for having so many emotions by, oh, you're so sensitive, stop being so sensitive, you're so overly sensitive, things like that. They're not comfortable with that level of emotion because they don't experience it. But in that sense, they kind of try to put it on you that it's your responsibility to not overwhelm them instead of doing the emotional work. But we have mental health issues, right? We have diagnoses,
Mhm.
we have disorders and things, and um we're just always constantly bombarded by things, and that puts you on edge at some point. You
Yeah.
gotta understand that a person will be more sensitive if and I know sometimes some people can get can kind of build up a wall, but like not let things affect them. We all deal with that stuff differently, because really that's kind of a trauma, always being told you're so this so that, and some people will react to it differently and they just won't be sensitive to anything anymore at all.
Mhm.
But sometimes that wall, it can crumble down and it can destroy everything. So that's just like
Yeah.
I just think we should be mindful of that, really.
Yeah. And I think like well, I had two things to say and I'll probably forget the second one. I usually do. Um, but the first one is like I found in my life when I look back, the people that called me the most sensitive, they were also dealing with a lot of stuff themselves
Yeah,
instead of trying to heal and approach their own things. They
exactly.
projected it on someone else. They're like, well, I walled off all these emotions I feel. Why can't you? And it, just like you said,
Yeah.
we all deal with things differently. And then I remember the second thing. Um, as people on YouTube, as people who are outspoken about their opinions, we are sometimes told that because we're these monkeys on parade, that we can't have emotions and we
Yeah.
can't be sensitive and we can't have opinions because
Oh
we
yes.
somehow influence other people, or like or something. I don't know exactly the justification for it, but it's like it's because like you've chosen like I will liken it to what we talk about. A lot of people talk about some celebrities and try to get into their business and like I can't believe this person like went to rehab or like I don't know whatever.
Oh
And it's like well like other people can go through things and
Yeah.
still be known by more than just their physical surrounding people, right? So like it's like we like I'm not saying we're celebrities,
No,
um,
you're
but
not.
like but like we should be allowed to be humans as well. And if we
Yeah.
are sensitive about a subject, we should be allowed to be sensitive. Just like any subject you're sensitive about, you should be allowed to be sensitive.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And
know, it's a double standard that we experience.
I remember uh, a long time ago, someone was saying, like, was blaming a content creator for talking about the hate they were receiving, and they were going so abrasively about it. Like, I really don't respect content creators who do that. It was really like a very specific thing about like just basically being bitchy. That's what the person was saying, and I just thought to myself, well, if you can't like put yourself out there and be true to your emotions, what good does it do? Like, why are we always blaming others for how they feel? And it's mostly because we want to feel in control of our own, our own emotions and everything, so we kind of need feel the need to police things for others as well. That's kind
Mhm,
of how I view it. But I just remember that comment and thinking how that's another very ableist thing I feel like to say to a content creator, like, why don't you just suck it up and stop being bitchy, things like that,
mhm,
you know?
yeah,
Or even, I can't respect you for talking about your feelings. Like,
yeah.
that was a big one. I don't know. I don't even remember who said it, but that's
Jeez, yeah,
just
people are silly, i.e., spaceship. Um,
spaceship.
but why we need a spaceship? But like, yeah, I mean, and like also like I told you about this, but like I encountered a position where like I was jokingly complaining about things, and that's not to say that I don't legitimately complain about things. Uh, but I mean, you didn't. But even if you did, that would be okay. You're allowed to. Uh, I had a thing that I was gonna say, and
I'm
oh yeah,
sorry.
but like something that hurt me recently, and I did like talk to you about this privately, but like I was like jokingly complaining about something on my YouTube, and I don't even think I wouldn't call it jokingly complaining. I would just say plain joking. Like it was just joking.
Yeah.
Um and and someone interpreted it as me complaining about something,
Yeah.
which first of all, I do complain. I'm a human, and
Yeah.
I'm a whiny bitch, like just as a person. So like I'm allowed to complain. Like you are not forced to consume any content on the internet,
Yeah.
but somehow people want to complain at you or get mad at you when they see something they don't like. It's like if you don't like it, don't
Yeah.
digest
You
the
don't.
content. Just
Yeah, you don't
get
need
it
to
out
be a
and
dick
go.
about it. You
Yeah,
can just like click the little X button and be on your way. You don't need to see things you. But I think sometimes people who, it's ironic because people complain that we complain. They're just complaining.
yeah,
And
yeah,
also another thing about that is, like you said, you were just joking, right? But a lot of people will interpret the way we kind of speak or joke or things like that. They will interpret it as serious because of the deadpan kind of humor style way. I know I do that a lot. I'm very deadpan. I say things that are completely outrageous, and people think I'm serious for some reason, and they blame it on me afterwards. And I'm just like, sorry, but I was just messing with you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And yeah, neurodivergence, we face this a lot of incomprehension. And instead of asking for clarification, people assume we're just being mean because they project themselves onto us, because
yeah,
they would be mean. That's the thing. That's the thing I've noticed, really.
yeah. And also, look, a lot of people talk shit.
Yeah.
it's kind of human nature,
You
right?
do it too.
I talk shit sometimes,
Me too.
and I won't say all the time, but enough that I should be. It's gonna go on my fucking grave marker. But but the thing is, if you put it on the internet and then you're complaining about other people complaining, it's like if you don't see the irony and hypocrisy and all that, like you can you be helped? I don't know. Like
I don't know.
just like you were saying, like it is hypocritical just to like complain about someone else complaining and saying that they can't complain. It's like, wait, what?
I'm sorry, I just lost the power cable on my computer. You can continue. I'm still hearing what you're saying.
Oh no, yeah, I hate when that happens because my computery battery, my computer battery
Here
dies
it
like
is.
within like 10 seconds of not being plugged in. Especially when I'm doing anything that I give a shit about.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think like talking about like people who just don't like our style, like they feel the need, like whether it's our personalities, our lighting, our the setup of our space, like
Yeah.
all of that stuff, people feel the need to tell us like it's some kind of help to us to like to say something like that. Like
Yeah.
if you truly like gave a shit, like first of all, like I love your lighting because it makes you look like a spooky vampire. I'm sorry. Like it's my thing and I like that. Like I because when I imagine you
Yeah.
in your essence, I imagine you as a really cool spooky vampire.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Um but if you know me, you know that's like the highest form of compliment, right? You look like a cool spooky vampire. But like, just like people offering just like so much unsolicited advice and like while yeah, sometimes that's okay. And sometimes we say, hey, you gave that, I heard you, but one, maybe this doesn't work for me because
Yeah.
X, Y, or Z. Maybe you just say it doesn't work for me and you don't give an excuse because you don't have to. You don't owe anyone
Yeah.
that. Or maybe you just don't like pay attention to the comment or whatever. And people just like continue to
Yeah,
berate
they
you
keep
about
doing it. They give you
that.
like 20 solutions and they blame you for not applying them. And
Yeah.
this doesn't happen only on YouTube. Like that's a very big ism as well because all the time, like even if you have a problem, people will just give you tons and tons of advice, tons and tons of information and tell you like, well, that's on you then. Or I was just trying to help and get super offended, but we
Mhm.
kind of know things that and also I think the camera lighting setup and everything is kind of product of our voyeurist society, kind of kind of
Don't
the
make it sound so sexy when you're talking smack about it. Sorry, I'm just being gross and
but
dirty.
how we consume so much content from these people who have perfect cameras, perfect lighting, a filming setup, that we feel it's okay to tell those who don't that they're not doing all right. And that's just a big thing that irks me as a creator. I'm gonna have to address that on my own YouTube channel at some point because people, like, I have a few subscribers. I don't. I'm not a big channel. Like I'm in the first few hundreds. Like I have under 200. But I've had a lot of people bring that up. That my filming setting is not ideal, and bring up all the little things I can change. But first of all, I'm not fucking rich. It's like I
Exactly.
don't even have this lamp right here. This is a black light. I don't even have a regular light bulb because I can't afford it, so I can't use that. I don't have like light fixtures up there. I don't have like I don't have a good spot in my apartment. It's small. I don't have anywhere I can film, right? So like
Yeah.
I can't do anything about it. But people just keep pouring that on you as if you fix the thing that's bothering me. It's your job. And
Yeah.
it's always like that in our lives, as a general thing, because we're different, so we bother people and they want to let us know and they want us to fix it and to be all flat, nice, and without any bumps, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
smooth.
So like
Honest.
oh yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a really good metaphor. I feel like that maybe sounded sarcastic. It wasn't. That is a really good metaphor. Like, I can't. That wasn't. That's not what I'm
No,
saying.
that's okay. I get it.
Do you ever like say something and you're like, "Wow, that sounded really shitty," but I didn't mean it that way. I have to correct
All the
myself
time. All
all
the
the
time. That's a product of dealing with neurotypicals who misunderstand everything we say. We start to doubt ourselves. That's a thing.
time. And like, like you can say something like the thing is like we're social beings as
Yeah.
humans. Some
Yeah.
of us are
We
less
are.
social than others, but technically we're social beings. And so like advice is not inherently bad, but if
Yeah.
someone doesn't take it, don't take it out on them. Like you are offering your unsolicited or maybe solicited
Yeah.
advice, and we are not like we are not obliged to, maybe is that the word, I don't know, we're not like forced to take everything you have.
Mm.
Like when people, like people assuming we have money, is like a huge thing, right? Like
It's
um
crazy.
or like, people assuming that we have like jobs to go to, and like while like generally for a lot of adults that's true more times than it's not, like it's not our
Yeah.
situation. So like maybe just get to know a person before you start
Yeah.
throwing out shit like that. But if you want to offer advice, sometimes, I've gotten great advice throughout my life. I'm sure you've received some great
Oh
advice
yeah,
too.
me too.
But like, like if we choose not to take it, don't then like blame people for being in a situation that
Yeah.
they can't control, or maybe they don't want to change. Maybe you like, what if you had $1 million but you liked looking like a spooky cool vampire? You
I
did
would look
you're
my
not obligated to change it.
yeah, I would make myself look even cooler and even scarier. I would get fangs. I would get actual fangs.
Yeah, I want fangs so bad.
Me too.
Um, but like, yeah, I like one of the things like, like just speaking of like being disabled, like I posted this TikTok and it was very random, and I think it was silly, but it didn't have anything to do with me talking about or complain. Like I don't even. It was just dumb. Like it was just like a silly little thing.
Yeah.
And then I don't even remember what it was about, which shows you how important it was to me. But then someone commented on it. It was totally unprompted, totally random, literally nothing to do with what the conversation or topic was about. And someone was like, get a job. And I was like, at first I was like, that's so fucking random, because it is really fucking random.
It
But
is.
then it's also I would go get a job. I personally am one of those people who like I want to work, and like it makes me really sad that I
Yeah.
can't work.
Me
You
too. I wish I could get a fucking job like everyone tells me to. Like my parents keep telling me to just find a job, but I don't get hired anywhere because I'm fucking autistic, dude. Then it's so hard like to get a freaking job because the employers, the people who do the job interviews, they see you as this weird thing that they don't really know if they want to deal with you. But I have other disabilities anyway that make it impossible for me to get an actual 9 to 5 or any kind of job like in the traditional sense, if that makes sense. So I have a
know?
small business and that's what I do. But
Yeah. Mhm.
people sometimes in my YouTube comments, they'll be like, hey, this is just a hobby, blah, 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 things like that. Like they assume that it's just a hobby, but no, I do crochet 24/7, and people try to take advantage of me, get patterns, and get things from me for free because in their head, that's just their hobby. They just do this for fun, but I don't. This is serious for me.
Mhm.
Like when I do anything with my business, I take it seriously. I do official releases and things like that. So for me,
Mhm.
it's really important. It's not just this small little thing. It's just actually something I do with my life.
Yeah. And like for me, this is a hobby. So like we
Yeah,
can both exist at the same
yeah,
time and
yeah,
have different reasons why we do it. But for me, it's a hobby that provides a lot of my socialization. With
yeah,
agoraphobia, which like people like when the minute you say agoraphobia, people are like just like leave the house, and then you're like it'll like cure you of all that ails you. And I'm
Wow.
like, if I could, if curing anything was as simple as just doing it, don't you think I would do it? Do you think that this
Yeah,
would
we
be
would
fun
just
for
do
me?
it.
You think I enjoy feeling trapped? Like, no. Um,
Nobody does. Like,
but yeah, but like, but I, like this is a lot of my social interaction with people, and
yeah,
so I do it as a means of like social interaction. Now with crochet, I do sell crocheted items and patterns and stuff like that.
yeah.
But like, there are people who love to take advantage of that, like selling. I like being a content creator. That's one way that people can use that as ammunition against you,
People
right?
always want free things.
But then once you start selling things or like making things, it's a whole nother realm. You're opening yourself up and making yourself vulnerable to a whole nother level of people. Do you have any customer or like potential customer or horror stories? Because I know I've got a fair
I
share.
have a good one to share, but
Ooh,
I'll just go check my heaters real quick because I think my roommate just like put it all the way up there again.
okay.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'll tell one of mine. Well, it was one of the more intent while winter's getting settled. I'll tell one of mine. And this happened like fairly recently. I posted it on the Facebook group Army of Weirdos. um and Winter, I think you commented, so I think you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it.
But someone, I was trying out Facebook Marketplace because I know some people do really well selling their stuff there. Etsy, I pretty much only sell one of my like 38 options, and I have one thing that sells, which I'm grateful that that sells. But it would be cool to like have some diversity in what I make.
I
Um,
totally get
but
that.
I like one thing I make, and I like to make a lot of like kind of like perverted, like dirty joke gag gifts, like stupid stuff. Like I love that stuff. And like that's what brings me joy as someone who makes something and has basically no life. And so I posted about this thing called a willy warmer, which a lot of crocheters know what this is. A lot of crocheters make them as like gag gifts. Like a lot of times they're not even given to people as like functional items, right? They're like, it's a gag gift, like ha ha ha, and then that's the joke, and then it's done pretty much.
Yeah,
But some people truly like to wear them for comfort reasons. Okay, do what you want. That's cool. If the item serves you, I'm all for it, and I like making people happy. So like, yeah, cool. So the willy warmer, it's like basically just something that we can crochet or knit, and it just covers up junk of people who have that
mm,
junk. And I received a message after I posted that I make these, um, saying that like, hey, there was a lot of like very intense sexual language surrounding it. And like, while I love to joke and be sexual, like when I'm in business mode, I'm in
yeah,
business mode. Like
yeah.
just
It's
like you
not
said,
the
like
time
take
for
it
gross
seriously.
stuff.
Yeah, and so this person was like, I'm gonna be pretty explicit here because that's what was presented to me. But like, if you don't like sexual talk, like just tune out for like 5 minutes and come back in, or just skip ahead. You're watching this recorded. Figure it out.
Yeah.
But like, so this person was like, my boyfriend has a huge cock. Like, can you accommodate that? And I'm like, I'm sure there's enough yarn in the world that I can accommodate that. Like, yeah. Yeah, okay. Like, I was like, yeah. So I responded. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I, everything says made to order. So like, when something says made to order, generally that means like you, like I can like
Yeah,
size
we'll
it, or like
make it for you.
yeah, and make it for you. And so I reiterated that I can make him in any size. And so this person just kind of kept reiterating how big their boyfriend's dick was. And it was very weird. Like, it was just very, okay, like, congratulations, I guess, okay,
Good for
this
you.
this doesn't do anything for me, right? In fact, all it does is create more work for me. So
Yeah.
can you give me a number, please? And so I was like, can you give me measurements? If you want someone to make you something custom, measurements are
Yeah.
required. And just speaking about all custom wear, I don't know why people want something custom, like, and refuse to give you measurements. Like,
That's
it's
silly.
like they're asking for their firstborn, and you're like, what did you think? If you're like one time I got a cardigan order, and it was just like, this is for my friend. She's really big, and I
Oh
was like,
yeah, really big. Does that mean like a size 20 or a size
yeah, really
24
big
or
compared to what? Like, I don't give me more information. And
yeah,
like, I understand with
yeah,
gifts, maybe you
yes.
don't have an exact size, but maybe just like give me something to work with, anything, right?
Yeah, what do
And
they wear usually,
I
sort
think
of?
that's reasonable. Like, it's not, I'm not asking again for your firstborn. I'm just asking for things that I need to make a thing. And so this person continued to be like very sexual, and I responded as professionally as possible.
Yeah.
And so this person was like, I was like, just give me the measurements. I need like length, and I need like girth. Those are like, if I'm gonna make something that's fitted to a person's body, I need the measurements of that particular part of
Yeah.
that person's body. It's not unreasonable to ask, I don't think. And
Oh,
they call
it's
me the crazy
perfectly
one, but this
reasonable.
person was like, can I just send you a picture? I
No.
don't know what they thought that one that would do for me at all, right? Like, what is that gonna indicate to me?
They
Like,
clearly just wanted to brag about their yeah.
yeah,
It's what
it
it
was so weird and like
that's
gross.
so
And like, I don't
disgusting.
even necessarily think that appendage is gross, but like, I don't think that appendage is gross, just
Yeah,
like in
but seeing
general.
it
But like,
from a stranger, from a
unsolicited,
customer, that's like,
yeah,
that's another level.
yeah, unsolicited pictures of anybody's body,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't want. Um, i.e., why they're unsolicited. And so, so I uh, this person was like, um, also they asked me if I could make them that big. They kept on asking me if it was possible, like, or like, what was the biggest one I've ever made? Like, it was a competition, like
That's
literally a
really
dick
oh.
measuring competition. And I was like,
I've made one the size of the Empire State Building, if you
yeah,
should know.
I've made one the size of a toddler. What do you want me to say to that? Like, literally, it's. I don't know what
It's
they wanted me to
silly.
say to that. I just ignored that part of the question.
My boyfriend has the biggest dick. That's what it was. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it was.
yeah, it was definitely
That's so gross.
yeah. So I continued to say like, I was like, a picture is not what I need. I just need a measurement. Um, and or like, if it's a gift, I understand like an estimation might be appropriate, but like, just give me a number, give me something to work with, and I'll start working on your project. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. It's really not that deep. But this person continued to push, and they're like, when I was like, I gave them options for measuring. I was like, if you don't have a flexible measuring tape, you can take a piece of string or floss or whatever, and use that, and then use like a rigid measuring tool, like a ruler, and you like, and then give me the measurement. Um, but this person kept on insisting that they give me a picture, and I was like, I after I had said clearly no, like, I wasn't beating around the bush, no pun intended. I just was like, I explicitly said no. And then this person was like, oh, I'll just wait till he wakes up, and then I'll send you a picture. And I was like, if you send me a picture, one, I will not make this for you, no matter what you pay. And
Mm.
two, I will report you for
Yeah.
sexual harassment. And then they proceeded to harass me further, saying that, like, basically making it, I know one thing was, well, if you post it on here, clearly you need the money, which
Oh,
is such a
fuck's
piece
sake.
of shit thing to say. Like, even if
Yeah.
I wasn't poor, even if I just wanted to crochet from the fucking goodness of my heart, which is totally allowed, then and a lot of people do, that still wouldn't be cool.
Yeah.
Um, but like, and they said something else, but I just was like, okay, well, like block, and I reported them for sexual harassment.
Yeah.
And because like I like do not I set my limits. Some people, if you tell them no, they don't realize maybe how fucked up it is.
A
You
lot
set
of
your limits, and if they
yeah.
push past those, you gotta be strong.
Yeah, a lot of people push on those limits. They try to take advantage of you, and that's what it's like to be a small business owner or to own any kind of shop or online platform. People are constantly trying to get something from you, get a reaction, harass you. Like that's what was happening to you. They were coercing you basically. They were trying to coerce you to do something you weren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you had to adjust the heat when you were gonna tell your one of your worst customer stories. Do you want to share it
Yeah.
now?
So my story is not as juicy as yours, unfortunately, but
I wish let's not use the word juicy to describe that experience. Look, sorry.
sorry, but I couldn't find a better word. So,
I love it. It's fine. No, I was just
but I
joking.
think mine is still an important one to discuss because it's something that happens to a lot of people who make things by hand. Um, so yeah, basically, your family always wants something, right? You know what that is like. And so this person in my family was like, hey, I'm interested in this one thing, and it's a beach cover up dress kind of thing. It's super long and it's orange. It goes like down to basically your ankles, depending on your height, of course. And
Mhm.
so she was like, hey, can you how much would it be for that? And I said, I don't know. That would depend how much time it takes me and how much yarn it will use. And so I can't give you a perfect estimate, but it will sure be more than X price, right? I said
Mhm.
it will be more than that. Expect more than that. And so
Yeah.
after that, I give them an estimate later on, and they're like, well, I thought you said that would be $80. I'm not gonna pay that amount. That's too much. I have to pay rent. No
So
shit.
do
And you
you.
think I don't? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and she's I okay. I keep saying they and she, but it's just someone in my family, so I keep just mixing. But just know that I'm not like going with wrong pronouns. I'm just getting confused between telling the story neutrally or just like using the person's
Yeah.
assigned
It,
gender and preference. They're not queer or anything. I'm just my brain is getting mixed up. But yeah, that person is just like yeah, but you said this price. No, I said it would be more than this price. I said I can't give you an estimate because I've not finished the thing, and I wasn't very experienced back then. It was like my first or second year, but I sold the same thing to someone else in my family. It went well, and they paid the price I asked. And that one person just kept bitching about it, and she tried to make me feel guilty and going things like, well, my sister, blah 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 blah, I'm not rich like my sister, so I can't do that for her sister is closely related to me, so I know her, that's why she said
I'd
that.
be like, well, have your
She
sister order it for you. Like,
Yeah, and
fuck
she
you.
wouldn't she wouldn't do that
Oh,
because
voice
she
crack.
doesn't want to support my business. She doesn't believe in my business. I mean, yeah, but and like she wouldn't pay a freaking $150 dress for her sister anyway, because that's like she has things to pay on her own
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
And that's just perfectly reasonable. I wouldn't either. And after that, she says, well, my birthday is soon, wink, wink. That always freaking happens to us. People are always trying to take advantage, be
Yeah.
it because we make things or because we're disabled or because for whatever reason, people always try to do that.
Yeah. I've even had the same thing happen to me with people who like I barely know, or like I was in a mental health facility last September, and like I understand that there are certain like legalities, like you can't like pay for services from a
Yeah.
patient or something. I understand that, but so like this person like, but the staff would constantly being like, would constantly say, "So what are you gonna make me net, or what are you gonna make me, or like whatever, like whatever,
Nothing.
all of this." And I was like, "You're gonna pay me," and that's like the first thing I would say, and usually the conversation would stop.
Yeah.
Um, because they didn't think they had to pay me. Like I'm mentally ill, but like I also uh, am like I charge for my services.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like if I wanted to just to gift you something, I would ask you instead of you asking me to gift
Yeah.
you something. That's not how gifts work.
That's
Um,
crazy.
most of the time, right? Especially
People
like
think
my voice keeps cracking.
people
I'm
think
like,
because
testosterone, take hold, please. Jeez.
yeah, because whenever someone sees you do something, make something from your hands, they think they are entitled to it for some reason. Like it's a common project kind of thing, and it's just, well, it's just you do this for fun, so why can't you just give it from the goodness of your heart? No,
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
me.
Even if I just did it even if I just did it for absolute fun and like
Yeah,
that's it, like I still get to choose if I'm going to give it as a gift. The
yeah,
more you push me on giving it to you as a gift, the less likely you're gonna get that, and the more likely you're gonna get a bag of rocks that you can go kick. Like fuck off. But this one person, like she was very like entitled, like that was her whole like essence and vibe. Like you could smell it from a mile away, right? And
yes,
so she was like, "Oh, like, I really want this. Like, can you make me this?" And again, can you pay me? And she was like, "Well, I can buy the yarn." Well, at first she said she couldn't pay me, and I was like, "Well, I can't make it." And then she said, "Well, what if I bought the yarn?" And I was like, okay, so are you going to buy the man hours?" And she said, "Well, I can't do that." And I said, "Well, I can't do that."
yeah.
Like
Buy the
people,
yarn for
yeah,
me if you want, but you have to pay the hours too.
yeah,
Yeah, pay me for my time. Like, okay, bring me some yarn, but you will also pay me at least the minimum wage or whatever fee I usually charge.
yeah. And like, and then, I hate it when people are like, "You charge this, but I could get it online at XYZ site
Then
for this
get
much."
it
I'm like,
online somewhere else and leave us alone.
yeah. I'm like, okay. And like sometimes I'm in a mood where I'm like, well, first of all, like, like some of these things, they're so cheap because they're made in poor conditions.
Yeah,
And like you choose what you do with your money, but just so you know that that's the reality of some of these situations.
yeah,
But you can make an informed decision for yourself. I'm not going to control how you spend your money. And then sometimes I'm just like, do it. Like, okay, at the end of the day, I'll say, do it. Like, I like, I'm not like going to sleep every night like, wow, I wish this person would really ask me to make this and pay me absolutely no money. In fact, take money away from me because I can't work on projects from people that would pay me.
I have a good story about that.
Let's do
Yeah, I
it.
need a super huge blanket. This was a mosaic crochet blanket, just so people know. If you don't really know crochet, mosaic is a specific technique in which you have designs show through, sort of. It is very texture and motifs heavy. Like you have designs, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
It's
I'm
not
struggling
like a
to
check out
explain,
and
but
relax type of project.
yeah,
I,
it's a
I'll
very
add, it's very,
hands-on heavy project.
yeah,
The person wanted it to be 7 by 4 feet, not inches, just so you know. That is huge. Like that is fucking huge. That is a big blanket, right?
yeah,
And I wasn't as disabled as I am at the time, but the person said, I gave that the estimate for the blanket. They said, yeah, I prefer to pay less. Can you do less? Can you just use discount yarn? And at the time, I couldn't afford to not do it because I needed money. I didn't have anything in my bank account, so I'm kind of ashamed to say I took the commission anyway, but I needed to, so I can't really be ashamed of myself, you know. I
Yeah.
needed to take it, and this person was taking advantage. But I
Yeah.
said, yeah, okay, I'll do. At first, it was discounted the yarn I used, but I had to buy more. Sometimes you have to, you know, you underestimate how much yarn or time something is gonna take, and so
Yep.
I bought more yarn after that, and it was full price. And yarn prices keep like growing and growing. So at some point, it started costing me money, and this person would ask me for updates every few like weeks or something. And at some point, I told them, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm more disabled than when I started, and I have a lot of monetary issues I have to take care of. I can't always work on this project because sometimes like I'm rushing for rent, and I have to like focus on making as much money from other sources as possible because yours is already half paid for." And then after that, he even sent me the full price adds on. So I do understand why the person was pressed to receive the blanket. But also, like, I was just kind of, I was always transparent about the fact that I'm disabled, and I have carpal tunnel, and I was experiencing a lot of very big flare ups at that moment. And that
Oh,
person was just like, "Yeah, I don't think you're really honest about that." He didn't say it that way, but it felt that way. And it was just like, trying to kind of guilt me, saying, "Well, I think I deserve a due date now. At least let me know when it will be finished." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can't guarantee you that because I have flare ups." If you
mhm.
don't know, anyone who doesn't have chronic pain might not know this, but if you do, you definitely do. You can't control a flare up, and it will like surprise you. It out of the blue, it will just happen, and you'll be in pain for days or weeks. And
Yeah.
like
And pushing through it always makes it worse.
yeah, things get backed up a little bit, sometimes more. And I had one very big flare up. I wasn't able to crochet a thing for over a week. I was resting my hands like that, and they were like this. I was cramping up all over. I had ants all over, like little electric um,
Oh,
I
no.
think that's what you get. That's what you get sometimes when you get big flare ups. But yeah, I couldn't do a freaking thing, and the guy was just like pressuring me, and that's why I said that I feel spread very thin, like a bilbo. Like people are just wanting my things left and right, and I tell them, "Hey, I'm disabled, and I'm sorry. This will take a lot of time, possibly more than I initially tell you." Because I have this and this struggle, and I have ADHD. My estimate of time is poor, very poor, and I try to work on that, and I try to accommodate people and respect deadlines and things as much as I can. But you can't predict a bad mental health day. You can't predict a bad mental health week. Sometimes it's months, and I'm sorry, but yeah, when I'm in a bad place, I get so depressed sometimes. And this was the I like that you're undoing all the mess while I'm talking about being so
Yeah.
messy inside.
Working on my brain.
Yeah, but what was I saying? I don't remember.
That this person thought you were taking advantage of them or like lying to them when you were
Yeah,
being
that yeah, but I don't remember what I
about,
was.
just like you don't know when flare ups are going to happen. And like if you're like, like you just can't predict these things. I think it's kind of where you got to, but maybe you got
Yeah, I
further.
finished that point. I don't remember what I was saying next.
Me neither. we both.
But if it's just kind of very hard to predict those things and whatever. But you start to feel guilty. Yeah, I was saying you can't predict a bad mental health there and week or whatever, and the work piles up, and you start to feel guilty, and people start to be distrustful of you because they believe, "Hey, that's on you to fix that. Work on your health." Yeah, we can work on our health all we want, but we're still struggling.
We still have to eat and
And I
have
was saying I was
housing.
feeling spread thin. What did I say? I know I was gonna bring up a good point, and now I just can't remember it, and I'm mad.
Good points are made to be forgotten. That's my
Oh yeah,
saying that I
there's
just
just
coined.
like 20 people who want my things and keep asking me when it's gonna get done, and I'm sorry, but when that happens, like, oh yeah, I was talking about how the past few days I've been so depressed that I've been in bed almost all day. That's what I was gonna do, but it gets so bad that I don't get out of bed, people. So, and then people are like, hey, if you don't want to make that anymore, just tell me. And you're like, if you don't want it anymore, tell me, because like it's kind of making it seem like you're trying to guilt me right now into finishing it sooner. And like I try to explain, I'm really sorry, I know this is taking more time than I said, and this was not a paid commission, the one I'm talking about specifically here. This is just a gift for a friend. But like this person was
Oh, it was a gift, and they were
yeah,
still.
it was a gift.
Oh, that's
And
even
I
worse.
had said, okay, this might take me a few months or something, but now it's been quite a few months, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This was, I think I was talking about making this for this person back in November, just to give a time frame. But it's kind of making me not want to work on it now.
Yeah.
Now that this person's just like, hey, when are you, you know? And this person said, that yeah, the phrase that killed me, and I talked about this on my YouTube channel because that person was messaging me as I was streaming, and
Um.
I got just so sad and so disheartened because I genuinely care about this person and wanted to make them happy
Mhm,
because I know they were having a very tough time,
mhm,
and I was sad. So I had made full previous lives working on this project, working on that thing, and like I had all the intentions of the world on working on it super hard the next few days after, and like I had the whole thing planned. I was gonna like even sacrifice a little bit of my orders to just work on it for a few days and get it progressed, and the person hits me like, hey, it's okay if you don't want to make this anymore. Are you just doubting my good faith, like out of the blue? Just ask me, hey, is it coming along or something, but don't tell me you don't want to make this now. That's
yeah. I like I like to some degree, I get, like, maybe where they were trying to come from,
yeah,
but, like, it's still, like, if someone, like, because like, I've had positions that I've been in where, like, I had some outstanding orders, and I do try to give a deadline, but, like, things come up,
yeah,
just like you said. And so, and, like, I have, like, I don't know about your ADHD, but I know I have time blindness.
yeah, me
Um,
too.
I thought so, but I didn't want to speak for you. um, and so, like, knowing how long things actually take, I generally don't have any idea. Also, when you're disabled, like, time is extra wiggly because, like, you don't have
Yeah,
like a typical work day to measure your days off of. So, like, a week
yeah,
could feel like a day, and, like, it's very weird. And so but, like, on Etsy, like, because a lot of my sales are on Etsy, like, I do have to give, like, a timeline. Otherwise,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
get dinged by Etsy. But sometimes, like, I've had points in time where I had outstanding orders, or, like, they were, like, within the timeline where if I had just finished them that day or something, and granted, a lot of the stuff I make is much smaller than what you make. Uh, because I don't do big projects for this exact reason.
oh
Um,
yes,
and because I was like,
I
this will
like do
take me
them,
2 to 5 business years.
two to
and
five
um,
business years.
and but, like, so I had an incident where, like, I ended up needing to go into, like, treatment for my mental health, and
Yeah,
so, like, I sent messages to everyone. I put my Etsy on vacation mode first, and then I messaged every single person with an outstanding order, and I was like, hey, like, something came up. Like, I didn't give them details because I don't owe them details.
yeah,
If I for whatever reason say that I can't make it, I tell them. But, like, if it's a paying customer, especially with Etsy because they have to prepay for the whole
Yeah.
project. They can't like pay in increments or anything like that. Um, then I will say, like I said to everyone, like, hey, I'm having emergency medical treatment because that's what it is,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna try to get this done, like if I like in the timeline that you were promised initially, but if it might take longer, and I gave them the option immediately, like if you want a refund, like I will issue you a refund if that's what needs to happen, like it's all about communication, right?
Yeah,
And
it
the
is.
more you can communicate, generally the better. um but like sometimes like life just hits you over the head and you're just like, well fuck, I guess I'm just gonna be doing this. And so like some people didn't respond and I was like, okay, like I sent the message when I did, I have the timestamp, so if they didn't respond, like that's on them. But like most everyone was pretty cool about it, which I was thankful for. But if they needed it for a specific reason or anything like that, um, then and they wanted to order from someone else who made something similar, then I would have given them a refund. Just because I understand sometimes people want something at a certain
Yeah.
time and that's it. But like I've had people who I give a timeline and they say that they need it in a rush, and I say, I'll try to be realistic, and sometimes I can shorten the time depending on how
Yeah.
many orders I have. You know how it is. I think everybody knows how
Oh,
that
yes.
should be in theory, right? But like if I say like I can't accommodate this rush, then it all of a sudden can become this like, well, like why'd you post this here if you couldn't like accommodate?
Same thing.
It's like, well, I
They
gave you a time.
message me
Yeah,
unrealistic expectations all
yeah,
the time. This lady wanted to buy friendship bracelets for our whole it was a competition of some sort for a child, and she wanted to gift them all friendship bracelets, and she wanted like 20 of them alpha, like with the big details and everything. That takes me like a week to make one. She wanted 20 and she wanted them before the 2 weeks mark. She had 2 weeks before the competition. And I'm just like, I can't do that, first of all. Second of all, that's going to cost you a few $100s. Like, even if I charged you a bulk price, which I wasn't willing to do, by the way, that would have been close to the thousands, if not more,
hmm,
because very detailed, large things like that takes so much time. I wouldn't have been able to, and my hands anyway. And she was like, oh, okay. She was kind of understanding. She was one of the good ones who got it. But
yeah.
sometimes they're
It's
like,
okay to ask, but just like if you don't get
yeah,
the response you want, just like leave it alone.
yeah, sometimes they're like, well, you don't really want to work, do you? I want to work. I just don't want to rush myself to exhaustion because I already do that every day. So I don't need more rushing.
And if you dig yourself into that hole, it takes so much time to recover, depending
Yeah,
on what's going on with you, or it can take so much time to recover that you end up shooting yourself in the foot, and you might end up in a flare of any kind for
yeah,
days to weeks to months to years. Like you don't know, you can't predict what your illnesses are going to be like. And so like yeah, I totally agree with like I did I was gonna do I put like on Facebook Marketplace. Then man, that tends to be the worst place. For me at least. And like this person wanted a custom baby blanket and
yeah,
we talked about colors, and I spent hours trying to help her like pick out the colors and all this stuff. And like this is I don't charge for the 6 hours you took out of my
yeah,
day to find the right color of mint
yeah. The
for your blanket.
consultation basically is
And
free.
also you can be like, well, like people are like, just make it in a mint and this color. And so I'll pick out the yarn type that I would recommend. Some like maybe I'd pick out like an anti-pilling or like something like that. Or she said she wanted it super soft. Like that. I
Yeah,
mean, I when I think about super soft yarn, I think about some of the anti-pillings I use or like Caron Simply Soft. But
yeah,
then like when she showed me what she had in mind, she was talking about like chenille yarn.
Oh.
Like, so, like, I didn't even present those options to her. So once I knew she wanted chenille, and at hour 6, she was like, what about something like this? And so, like, I was like, okay, well, I hate using chenille yarn. I didn't tell her that, but I was thinking it. I hate using chenille yarn. And like, so I do tend to charge more if I just don't want to make something.
Yeah,
If
same.
I will price based on how much I want to make it.
Me too.
And I'm allowed to, because I have to I have to have the
Yeah.
motivation to finish it. And if I don't enjoy it, the money is the motivation.
The
So
same thing.
um so then she was like, well, can I purchase the yarn? And then she was like, can you tell me how many ounces it is? A lady at my church always tells us the ounces. And I was like, not if I don't know what fucking yarn you're picking. Like, and
How
also,
many
like, I don't
ounces?
weigh
How many
anything I make.
ounces?
Yeah, it was so weird.
That's
It was
so
a very
random.
strange interaction. And then, so it was maybe like a Tuesday or Wednesday. She needed the blanket by Saturday, and like, in theory I could have done it, but I knew I would be really, really like down to the actually I think she needed a 2-day turnaround. And in theory I might have been able to do it,
Yeah,
but
you would have been burnt out.
I yeah, I could have burnt myself out. I might have, like, something might have come up, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to promise a date like that that was so short. Like, when I give people a time estimate, I generally double what I think it'll actually
Yeah,
be.
me too. I do that.
Yeah, because I don't know. And like, I give myself time to be depressed for a week, like in the middle of a project. Um, so, and then I was like, so I just was like, hi, like she basically she just like stopped responding. But like, yeah, like and then other rush orders, it's
Give
like
me
some people
the
I can
ounces,
accommodate, some
Ian.
people I can't. Can't hurt to ask. But
How
like,
dare you not know how many ounces it is?
yeah,
I'm sorry, that just kind of stuck in my head. I'd like to point out something though. We're so neurodivergent that we've just completely deviated from the subject of the not the live stream, but from the podcast, for like an hour.
well, like, that's to be expected. Okay, so let's get back to isms, because I was thinking
Yeah,
like probably like 30 minutes ago, but I was like, I like where this conversation is going, because I don't give a shit about like what we intended to talk about. Whatever we end up talking about is
with
fine.
all
But
the
but I do like talking about like isms, because I just don't think some people know how things read. And also, like, maybe if you were saying it to a person, it might come across differently than it does when you type it out, because once you type it out, there's no way for that person, any
yeah,
person, to know how you intended it, or the tone of voice you would use, or anything. You have to be mindful of that and how it may come across. You saying something gentle like, hey, it's a little dark in your room, like it like saying something like that,
yeah, that's okay.
you might be like, I can't afford to like pay like more for my power bill. So like, it's just like, and like, they don't have to know everything about your life, and they
Well,
might say something like that,
it's mostly because I don't have money for a fucking light bulb. Because I would put a light bulb in this lamp here,
mm,
that I have a black light in there, but that doesn't light up. But people are just like, fix your lighting, fix your camera. There's a smudge on your camera. There's no smudge in my fucking camera, but
there's not a smudge in your camera. I mean, I can see
I'm
it in
just
mine.
expressing a frustration right now.
Yeah.
There's no smudge on my camera. It's just a shitty quality, and I'm
Wouldn't it be
trying
funny
to
if it was
explain
like a
that.
fingerprint smudge on their like phone screen?
Yeah, and I'm trying to
It probably
explain
is.
that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to explain that, but the people are just not hearing you because they have their idea and they're just stuck on it, and you're just like, it's hard for a neurodivergent person. That's just the way it is. It's hard, and I had a meltdown that specific instance, and like, it's hard, because after that you're just thinking when you're gonna go back live, how it's gonna be, and you're just thinking about all the overwhelm you're gonna feel the next time around, and you're worried you're gonna have another meltdown again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disappoint my people, but
Yeah.
I'm just an autistic human. I can't do it all, you
Yeah.
know.
Even if you were neurotypical, had like no trauma to speak of, like no nothing in your life. Everything
Yeah.
was peachy keen. You lived in a mansion. Like you still don't owe anybody anything. And like just this general concept that we owe people things because we're on the internet or because we're existing out in the world or because we, you know, like are like it's just like the like if you have an expectation, you voice it, and then someone says, "I can't do that," or won't do that because,
Yeah.
or not because, and just ends the sentence there.
Mhm.
You know, no is a
You have
complete
to
sentence.
accept that the
Yeah,
person has
like
boundaries.
accept it, or just like on the internet, you can click away. I don't know these people. The
Yeah, they can
idea that
just
we are
leave. They
forcing
can just
people
leave.
to watch
Oh, I'm
us.
torturing them actually.
Yeah, I'm like, if
I'm
this
a
is your biggest
vampire, you said
problem,
it.
yeah, I was like, if this is your biggest problem, then like fucking go get a life, person. Like if I can't relate, I literally can't relate.
I
I see
cannot.
stuff I don't like all the time, and guess what I do? Not watch it. I don't
Mhm.
engage with it. And guess what? I happen to see less of it. It's like, do you remember like this was like I think people have like wisened up. I don't know if that's a word.
Rising up. Yeah, I
I don't,
think it is.
but like when like all of these like people didn't understand cookies as well. I mean, still there are people who don't understand cookies, but like on not like edible cookies, but
No,
like
no, I. Yeah.
cookies on the internet and stuff,
Yes,
and they would
yes.
be mad because like gay porn ads would be in their thing, and they were like, why am I getting all these gay porn things? Like people are trying to indoctrinate me, and it's like, who's gonna tell them? Like who's gonna tell them that that's based on your search histories, person? Yeah,
if
you're
if
the
you're
one.
not looking for it, someone in your household is.
Yeah, and it's like when like when people like point the finger, but it's like a mirror, and it's like you're just like people, the gay people are forcing their gay porn down my throat, and it's like uh
We're not forcing anything down your throat, or you would gag. I like this one. I
that's why
stole
they're
it
all
from I
gagging.
stole it
Yeah,
from that page I sent you. Tr- what's the name again? Transcater boyfriend or something. I stole it from that
yeah,
line. If I was forcing it down your throat, you would gag.
yeah. Yeah,
It's the
and
best.
yeah, that's good. That's a good one. I like it. Yeah. I can't
We get
I
it.
don't have the confidence to say that line in my own life, but I love that someone else does. But like you wish. Like
They wish.
that's the only thing I like like you wish I was forcing something down your throat. Like, and that's kind of what is the truth, right? Like they want to feel like they're the victims of like being forced to consume content,
They
but
want to be the victim
yeah, but it's like
because
you know, it's all the evil gays and the
evil
evil
gays.
statistics and like the evil trans people, and it's like no one's making you watch this stuff. No one is, and you
Mm.
know, it's just like get with the program. Like this, like it's based on like
Yeah.
like you have the power to say this. But like, you know, like I also like just speaking of like trans stuff or like queer stuff, people who like come on your channel and they're like, um, I think you're really funny, or they try to give you a compliment or something, but they're like, but I just don't agree with your lifestyle. I'm like, well,
Okay,
congratulations.
but
I
you
give less
can.
of a shit. Um, yeah, it's
It's
like,
like,
yeah, like you're a dick, but
we have
I'm not
a
here telling you you're a dick. I'm just telling you to go, like, just then
we have
don't.
a word for that in French, and it's compliment shit instead of compliment, but compliment like the M part. Shit in French has an M, so it works super well.
Oh, I
I will
love
say
that.
it for our French viewers. Complimard. That's
Oh,
beautiful. That's beautiful
it
French.
sounds gorgeous. Give me
Yeah,
one.
It sounds beautiful. I
It
know.
does. French sounds so pretty generally.
But we get so much of those when we're neurodivergent, queer, or anything. Any marginalized people gets those all the time, and so many microaggressions and things.
Yeah, and
Ugh,
like the people coming in like refusing to use your pronouns because God, or I'm not going to talk about that, but because they think that you should have these certain pronouns is like, okay, well, like you say I don't have the right to make that decision, but like what gives you the right to have the decision? I don't know.
you're
Um,
making me use words that I don't want to use. You're forcing me to talk in a way that I don't want to talk. Oh no, so sad. A tester of
Man,
mine once said that to me. You're not gonna tell me how to talk, and after that they were gone, and I was just like, well, you're not gonna tell me what pronouns to use.
yeah, and like
Just
I'm sorry, again, if that's the hardest thing you have to do is use someone's
that's so
proper
sad.
pronouns or
That's
like
so sad.
learn how to talk to them in a way that's not confrontational. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, get a fucking life. Like, if that's your biggest problem, your life is more sad than mine. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
because your life
so
sounds
sad.
very boring to me.
I have a
I don't
good
know why I thought
one.
that was so funny. I giggled so hard at myself. I was like, ah.
I have a good one.
Uh-huh.
Someone on my Facebook who's sort of family ish. She's not on there anymore, so I don't feel bad talking about it openly. But on one of my posts, I was just talking about I met this sort of music person anyway, and they misgendered me. I'm not gonna name any names because that's a long story, but and they misgendered me. I corrected them, and all was well. No one cried. No one shed any tears over it. Everyone was all right, and I just said, hey, I use those pronouns. I use they, them pronouns, and it was fine. And I posted about it on Facebook and said, I wish people took it more gracefully because we're not bitching about it. We're not being mean about it. We're just advocating for ourselves. And
Yeah.
this nasty person made this whole big deal about how I was intolerant and all that. And she started insulting my trans friends in the comments, saying they were intolerant. So I blew up at her because you can tell me any sort of bullshit you want, but you don't ever insult my friends, not my marginalized friends either. And she went with this huge big paragraph that I was attacking her and blah, 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 blah. And she said that one thing that was like you're just wanting us to like you're just depending on other people calling you this way for emotional regulation. Bitch, do you even know what gender dysphoria is? Do you know how it feels? I'm
Yeah,
not
you know what
depending on
emotional
anyone.
regulation is. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that this person doesn't know.
That's a
Um,
that's a big
yeah.
ism. That's a big ism.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of
It's
things
it,
she
they
doesn't
is
know.
all over
I called her
my
cis
face,
het, and
and like, yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like the thing is, we as a species, as a survival technique, we've learned to make like generalizations, just
yeah,
as it
yeah, of
helps our
course.
brain organize shit, right? People with who are neurodivergent, their brain has a harder time organizing shit, so we might do more or less organization, and
Like this.
um I'm so close. Look how close I am. I feel so good right now, even though I'm at the worst part of it.
Yeah,
um, but it's like, so like yes, like we might assume that someone with a very feminine name is a female.
yeah,
And identifies that way. Like we might assume that, but the
yeah,
minute that our assumption is shown to be wrong, we've got to learn
yeah,
to pivot.
yeah. It should stop
It's
there
like,
and just like
yeah, it's like when there's like a little baby who's in a stroller, and like you just say like if like let's just say like you just said like wow what a cute little boy, and someone was like it's a girl, and you're like oh my bad, like that's all it has to be. Like people act like like
but after that they're
yeah
like, just put a pink bow on it then.
Yeah.
Some people actually say those things to other humans.
Yes. Yeah. And so I saw this one, I think it was TikTok. It was some short form video,
Yeah,
but uh I it was what he I think he did say that he was a guy, and uh uh it was so I think he said to a woman like pushing a baby in a stroller,
I know
um
exactly which one you're talking about, I think.
wow, like what a cute what a cute little guy. And the lady like snapped and was like and it was likely a cis lady, because like I don't know many trans people who assign colors and genders, um but anyways, but she was like, I'm just gonna use she because I don't fucking know. I think the person said she, so I'm gonna say
Mm-hmm.
she. We're all
Yes.
gonna say she until we know better, right? And so she snapped and she was like, "It's a girl. Girls wear pink. Boys wear blue." And apparently the baby was wearing something pink on them.
Yeah.
And the guy who said, "What a cute little boy," or "cute guy," or whatever, he looks down at himself. He is wearing a pink shirt. And not only that, but the woman who said
He
it
was
is
wearing
wearing
blue.
blue.
I saw that.
Yeah. And
It's
so
so
he was like,
funny.
hmm. And so it's just like, like, but like when we've been misgendered all day and all week and all month and all our fucking lives, and one day
We
we
get
just like
cranky.
we've had it with people misgendering us, and we maybe snap, and maybe it's
I snap
inappropriate, but
sometimes.
we we all reach our limits with something, right? Like we're not all like beings of patience 24/7. Well, most of us,
Mhm.
right? Um, and so I know I'm not, and so like people who are on the receiving end of that snap,
Yeah.
they think that that was like just that one thing that they said was the one thing that caused us to snap. It's like no, we've like this is like an ongoing thing that is tough
Mhm.
for us, and
Yeah.
we're finally expressing the frustration, and maybe it got let out in an improper way, and we can apologize and say, you know what, like you can step back maybe eventually and say like, you know what, I snapped when I shouldn't have. That was a boo boo on my mistake. um but did something flicker, or am I just like, did I blink?
Yeah, it flickered. It flickered.
Okay. Don't you hate when that happens? Are you like, did I like blink really fast or something, or what? Okay. um Might be my shitty internet. But like but like it does, just because like someone freaks out doesn't mean that like if anyone misgendered us like once, and it was it we get gendered 99.99% of the time correctly, and then the every time someone misgenders us, we burst into tears and get
That's
mad at people. It's like that's
definitely
generally
not
not the
like
case.
that.
It's
It's
like
not like that.
a series of being like beaten
Yeah,
down.
I've snapped maybe a total of 5 times about it in my whole life.
Wow, that's far less than me. Have
Yeah,
you?
I get misgendered a lot because I use they them pronouns, so people either assume girl or boy. I'm neither of those things. I'm a gender. I'm nothing. I don't have a gender at all, but it still hurts when you
You're
call me
nothing.
whatever. You apply a label that doesn't fit me, it still hurts.
Yeah, and it's allowed to. You're allowed
I'm
to have
trying,
feelings.
yeah, I'm trying to be graceful, but after a full day, if I go out and the guy at the corner store calls me lady, the grocery store, and then I have to run an errand somewhere else, and then everyone who talks to me in my entire day just assume I'm a woman, and then I go online and people all think I'm a man because my profile photo for a little while was makeupless me with shaved head, like slicked back like this, and I looked like a guy. I have a little bit of beard because I have PCOS. So anyway, it was just like this, and I don't really look any kind of gendered, but people just assume more guy because I'm not wearing any makeup. I have short hair and everything, so it's just like I just got misgendered all freaking day in different ways, both ways people could misgender me, and I'm done with it. I'm ready to just like,
Yeah.
you
You're
know,
ready to pounce
yeah,
at that point. Yeah. I mean, I completely understand. Like, I think way more often, like, people, not saying way more often than you, I'm saying way more often than not, people gender me incorrectly
mm,
um, when they see me. If they just see my name, then usually it's fine.
yeah,
But the minute that they see a picture of me and see that I have a round face, or if they see things from here below and they see that I
mm,
have a chest, um, even though like there are cis men who have like gynecomastia and like they like
yeah,
develop breast tissue, like excess breast tissue, like um, but like even then, like uh, they um, like like it's okay to make assumptions because like I said, that's how we were hardwired, or like that's how we have evolved, right? But like if I correct you, just accept that's my identity. like i like I think I told you about this like doctor's office experience I had, and like a lot of doctors I have are so great, and like are, once I correct them, it's like okay, that's fine, and like um and we get through it, and no big deal. Like if you can, if I say I prefer going by this name, or I use these pronouns, like if it's like it's not a big deal. It becomes like a non-issue.
yeah,
But the people who continue to like misgender you over and over and over again, like it takes a lot for me to get to the point where I will even correct someone
yeah,
because I get misgendered so frequently. But if I do correct you and you don't change, like that is when I'm like, how much can I, how much steam can I let out of the teapot
yeah. At some
before
point, you just
I end up in jail?
yeah. At some point, it's just like
Yeah,
I know people are not like on purpose provoking us, but it kind of seems like it at sometimes. I was talking to someone and that guy said, "Well, if it seems like you're trying to correct me and making me talk in a way, I don't like that. So I'm not going to use your pronouns." And I was just like, "I don't understand that though. I just don't understand what you mean, what you're trying to get at.
yeah.
I don't
I feel like
understand why
pronouns are like
that's
a
an issue
very,
for you."
like people have decided that that's like their new, like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like that's their, like it's like it is traumatic for them to use the right pronouns, and it's like if that's the biggest trauma in your life, then let's switch places, because I guarantee that you won't last a fucking day in my shoes, because like I know you won't. Like if you had my history, like if this is your breaking point,
Mm.
then
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Now, I'm always, I like to invite conversation. So let's say if someone misgenders me, or maybe
Yeah.
they're ignorant to trans issues or queer issues or mental health issues, and or proper terminology. Like I love having conversations with people,
Me
and
too.
if we can have a civil conversation, even if you disagree with transgenders, which is fucking
Oh
hilarious
boy,
anyway. Like,
I don't get that one.
yeah,
I don't understand it.
yeah. But like even if you want to say, well, like biologically you're this, and I'm like, okay, well, and
Yeah,
what? Like
like
are
that
are we like
really
so like ruled
changes.
by our biology? Like so when oh, I remember that one time I forgot where it was. I know I sent it to you.
Yeah,
So this is not when I was like, I don't talk shit. Like I'm just proving this whole podcast is me just proving that I talk shit.
I talk shit. You
But
talk
someone was
shit. We
like,
talk shit.
what's your birth name? Like you're born with a name. Like your parents give you a name, and they could call you like the turd burglar, and like that would be your birth name. Your
That's
like
hilarious, though.
right? And like, but like, it doesn't mean that like you could be unsatisfied with being called turd burglar for the rest of your life. Like, you could change
That's
your
a pretty
name
cool
even if you
name.
weren't trans. So like, so like acting like so yeah, someone who like wouldn't accept that like I like I didn't go by my quote unquote birth name, the name that I was born with, that was just stamped on
Boy,
my
that's
forehead
the
that I
end
spent
of the
5 years
world to change our
yeah,
names, is it not?
and
How
yeah,
dare we do such a thing? I
yeah.
had this,
Or people who want to know our dead names. That's such a weird thing to me. Like,
yeah.
why does it matter? Are you gonna
Oh, I
call me that?
just
Because
want
if
to
you are,
know.
fuck off.
Hmm.
Yeah, like it
It's
doesn't matter.
personal information. It's
Yeah,
personal information. I don't give that away unless I need to for medical reasons or something.
yeah. And like, it's uh, like I remember when I was in treatment in September, this one person, so like they had a sheet that you signed for every group to show that you were there, and they would use, say like, Ian attended at least 90% of his groups, therefore he's compliant, therefore insurance will pay for it, all the stuff. So they had a sign-in sheet, but it had legal names on it.
Yeah.
And so it had your legal first name and your first initial um, of your last name.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't tell anyone my dead name because it wasn't relevant. Um, but then, so like it wasn't even, and like generally because of HIPAA, and just like patient privacy, like a lot of like first and last names weren't shared so that you couldn't like go and like search for people or like Google their, history or whatever. If they wanted to share that information with you, that was their
Yeah.
business. So like there wasn't even any indication that it was my name, my dead name on there. But this one person who she was just a mess. Anyways, uh, a mess as in like just her personality was fucking annoying. Not like she's a mess. Let me joke about her mental health. No,
Yeah.
she was like her personality was she was just kind of a bitch. But which is not a diagnosable illness. Uh,
Unfortunately,
I know a lot of people who would fit the diagnostic criteria for
I
sure.
know a lot of them.
I would too, but frankly, anyways, but so like we were like in like the rec room, like just like, shooting the shit, like me, her, a lot of the other people um, in the program were just in the
Hmm.
room, just talking, and then she looked at me and she said, "Oh yeah, I saw on I saw your name on the sheet." And I I didn't know at first. I was like, I just kind of froze because I was like, what do process error? Like I didn't know what to do because like it was
The brain
very
stops at that
weird and
freaking
awkward,
moment.
and like it's not like my name is a straight variation of my old name or whatever. So like, anyways, and even if it was, doesn't matter. Like it like, but to bring that up to me sent me into full blown panic where I'm like, oh my god, is she gonna start like referring to me as like my dead name
Oh,
now? I'm like,
same.
why would she say that? Like, if people don't want to tell you, they're like, just straight up don't ask for people's
Yeah,
dead name.
someone I
It's like,
knew from.
imagine like just walking
Mhm.
up to everyone and assuming that that wasn't their original name,
So,
their
yeah.
birth.
Oh, a lot of people do that now because it's like, when we say transphobia doesn't hurt only trans people, it hurts cisgender people as well. Because now
Yeah,
people just assume everyone is trans. They're all paranoid and shit. Oh,
yeah,
that's it. And like one person I knew from childhood, right? Not gonna give too much detail, but she said, "Oh, Winter, is that the friend your name calls you? So I can still call you X, right? I can still call you that name." And I'm just like, "No, Winter is the name I use. Winter is my name. I chose my name."
yeah.
And she was like, "Okay, well, you're still dead name to me."
Ugh,
Exactly.
no, I'm not.
You know how much it frustrates me. I have always have had such a strong aversion to that name. Every time I hear it, I still do, because I've not changed it legally, and some people still know me by that name because they don't really want to make the effort of, but it hurts me so deeply because at first I've always hated it. It's always like had this very strong averse feeling inside me. Like when I hear it, I just sometimes I gag. I'm not gonna lie, and sometimes it's just like it irritates my insides, like all the way, from head to toe. Like it just passes through badly. It's just a big stomach cramp sort of deal, but it hurts, like not just physically, mentally, but it feels bad to hear your dead name. I don't
Yeah.
know how to describe it.
Yeah, I feel like that, like
Gives me
like
shivers too, kind
dead
of.
naming people and then also using improper pronouns. I feel like I've never been able to like verbally figure out how to communicate to cis people who use the name they were born with. Because like some cis people change their name and nobody
Yeah,
fucking bats an eye there, um, but like it's like I don't know how to explain that experience and that discomfort, that dysphoria that you feel when that happens. Um, and I can't, like, I don't know how to put that in terms. It's kind of like trying to describe neurodivergency and how my brain works. It's like, well, I could say like it's a mess. I
yeah,
showed you visually, it
yeah.
looks like a mess, but how exactly, yeah, like how do I describe time blindness to someone who is very aware of like how much time has passed?
Yeah,
Like,
there's always this component of you're not gonna know how it feels unless you're experiencing it. And
yeah,
that's what a lot of isms come from. People are never gonna understand it. You
yeah.
can understand it theoretically, you're never gonna feel it, though you're never gonna know what that's like.
Yeah. And I was talking to my therapist this past week and not these specific things, but like, it's like unless you've walked in that person's shoes, like you can't, always like have this like complete like empathy. Like I know this situation, I've been there too, blank.
Yeah.
But and even if you hadn't been in that same if you, even if you had been in that same situation, you might have reacted differently.
Yeah.
And like, but like being compassionate and listening to another person, like I think that's just I say it over and over again. I think that's just how we grow as humans, how we become better, nicer, more compassionate humans. It's just by trying to have conversations, trying to see where other people are coming from. If you don't agree with a certain person's decisions or beliefs or whatever,
Mm.
that's fine as long as you're not hurting yourself or
Yeah,
anyone else. And that should
of
be
course.
the end of story. But for so many of the things that people other us for or ism us for, it's
Oh,
like,
goodness.
it's just like I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Fuck. But like it's just like I the I think so many people get caught up in like political like narratives and
Mm-hmm.
that just straight up aren't political. Like it's not political for me to use the
We're
pronouns
yeah, we're
that I do.
just we're in
Like
the human side, we're not in the political side. But a lot of people feel that way because the world is in a very divisive place right now, and they feel the need to be one side or the other. And it's like this big duality, the big black and white. You're either this or that, and there's no space for in betweens. And as soon as you're not on the same side, you're not worthy as a human. And so that's the political aspect for them, is you're trying to show me something I don't want to see, therefore you're yucky, I don't want you here.
yeah.
That's what it is. You're
Um
threatening my ego.
yeah. I did want to circle back to a statement you said that I couldn't agree with more. And I feel like I want to like tack on to that because you
Mm,
said transphobia doesn't just hurt trans people, but it
yeah.
hurts cis people. Same thing with homophobia. It doesn't just hurt
Mm-hmm.
queer people. It hurts everyone And like, so for those of you who don't know, I am based in North Carolina in the US, and North Carolina was home of the bathroom bill. um,
Oh
uh,
yeah, that
that
one.
people love to talk about. And I don't think that like a lot of people, like, first of all, like, there were so many damaging parts of this bill and this concept, right? Of like, well, like at first it was very targeting towards transgender women.
Yeah.
um, and like, I don't think there's any denying that. They constantly talk about like a man in a dress. um, and I'm like, that's not what a transgender woman is. A transgender woman is a woman and just wants to pee. Like, it became something about like, but they also like tried to paint trans people as like
It's
perverts, which they did with gay people, like,
just
in the
snaking everyone.
gay civil rights movement. They did with black people in the black civil rights movement. Like, they always do this where they try to just make us seem like monsters, make people seem like
Yeah,
monsters,
that's to
so
control
that
the
it's
population.
easier to make things black and white,
Yeah.
like you said. And so, but like an example of how transphobia, in particular, hurts cisgender people is like, well, what if you are um, let's say you're a woman, and you identify as a woman, and you live your life as a woman, all of that stuff, and but let's say you happen to appear what is considered masculine.
Yeah.
What if you happen to be very tall? What if you happen to have PCOS and you do grow facial hair,
Yeah, and people
and
attack you for that stuff because they're
yeah,
like, "You're trans. You don't look like I want you to look." And
yeah,
it happens. It
yeah,
actually happens.
yeah. And so these things are happening to cisgender
Yeah.
people who
Mm-hmm.
are using the bathroom that they identify with, but they're being pulled into like a classification, because of assumptions,
Yeah.
which is like, like the bathrooms are scary places for trans folks, and like, and the bathrooms should be,
Yeah.
like, it should be like, it should be a place that like we like don't think about just going in and being safe for so many reasons. But when you when basically you try to do any type of segregation, and
It's
I'd love to hear your point of view as someone who's non-binary too, because like for me, I go to the men's, and I remember being so terrified the first time I went to the men's best restroom or washroom, uh, and and uh, I was so scared, and I had some people that I had just met, but we're like instantly tight. Those people that you meet and you just like, they're
yeah.
cool and they
I
got your
get
back.
that. I
And
get that
so
so
they were like
much.
one of the first people outside of my normal friend group that I came out to, and we met at like a nerd convention, and it was all cool. And so it was at this hotel, so I was going to use
Yeah.
a public restroom, and they just had men's and women's. There was no family option, um, and so um, there happened to be a guy in the group. It was two girls and a guy, and they were great. And the guy was like, "Well, I can come in with you if you want." And I was like, "I'd rather you not." That's actually like not like because you're weird, but I just think it's weird to like think about someone coming in with you to pee when you're
Yeah.
but like, but maybe if you could just like be like, you know we were like 10 feet away from the bathroom, so it's like, if you just be here for when I get out, that would be
Yeah.
cool. And so I thought that the bathroom was empty, and uh, so I walked in and immediately saw someone was using a urinal. I used the stall, and immediately, like the first, like, and most people, I don't understand people who want to have conversations in the bathroom. I never have, never
It's so
will.
weird.
I'm like, please just let
I
me like
can't go when people talk to me. It's not working.
I get pee shyness. Respect my pee shyness and just don't talk to me. But like the minute that I got into the stall, this person was like, "Oh." you're a guy. I thought you were a girl." And I was like pretty new to hormones and everything. My voice
Uh,
had totally
oh
like
boy,
solidified.
yeah,
I mean,
that's rough.
clearly, I mean, it hasn't solidified. My voice cracked like 100 times in this 2 hours. Uh, but I like put on like my like manliest voice, and I was like, "Nope, I'm a guy," or like just a dude, or something stupid like that. But I
I
was
love
so
that. That's
scared.
awesome.
I was so fearful, and I just needed to pee. Like I
Yeah, I
just,
don't know why people make such a big deal. Like, okay,
yeah,
so personally, I go to the women's bathroom. I get looks. I'm just gonna say it. I get looks, but I don't look mask enough to get away with going to the men's room. But I don't look femme enough to that I don't get looks. People see the chest area. They're like, okay, you're fine, you're fine. But I get looks for my face if I'm wearing a big jacket or something, and I'm just uncomfortable because everyone in there sees me as a woman, and it's very aggressive the way they gender you as soon as you enter that place. It's just like, oh, a lady like us. You see it in their look. It's just like it's tough. In Montreal, there aren't that many gender neutral bathrooms. It's a new thing. It's starting to appear in schools and things, and people are mad and mad about that. By the way,
I know,
I,
right? But I think, yeah, just the general purpose of this was that, like, I'm just gonna try to like summarize the big points. Is like, as people on the internet, we're allowed to express how we feel. We're
yeah,
allowed to express our, um, our feelings, our opinions, our gripes and complaints, our beliefs. We're allowed to um, show those. And
yeah,
even as people out in the world, we should be allowed that same privilege and right. I would consider that a right, just to exist. I think that's pretty much the most basic right, is just to exist, right?
it exists.
And be alive. And so I don't, I know that sometimes if you're on the receiving end of us being reactive, us is like a general us, anybody being reactive, you might be think that it's way disproportionate, but like maybe like just try to have some compassion. That's all we're asking for, is
Yeah, and we
just
can do that too on
your
our
best,
end.
and we'll try to meet you where you're at if you try
Yeah,
to meet where at. We're
yeah,
at. And maybe we won't agree, and that's fine. There's so many people on this planet. If we all agreed, that would be super amazing, but it's just not a reality of life, right? And so, if no one's forcing you to watch things that you don't want to watch here. So if you don't like this conversation or our channels, just don't
yeah.
watch them.
I know.
That's fine. And all we ask is for to be treated like humans. I think that is actually just the synopsis of everything. It's just treat humans like humans, and like, you know
Things
don't
will be
be
better
afraid to be
that way.
wrong, but when you're wrong, just pivot and learn to adapt. I mean, we're all adapting constantly to the world around us. Why are certain situations different than others? Um, Again, if we're not hurting ourselves or anyone else, it really shouldn't be a problem. So, Winter, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're welcome anytime.
Well,
Of
thank
course.
you for inviting me. I'm really glad I could do this. I know I seem quite distracted and everything, but I gotta deal with the big baby right now. And he's texted me like 30 minutes ago, and I'm just like, when will this end? But I'm very glad I could be a part of this. Really.